What's up, witches? How we doing? How we doing? What's up, bunker witches? I see y'all in the building. What's up, Dominique? Hi, Minda. Hi, King Jim. How we doing? Welcome, welcome. How we doing tonight? I pray everyone is doing lovely. It is so great to have you here. This is a very special tea and tarot because I was like, emergency, emergency. Okay. I don't know about you guys. I imagine all my witches, you guys are sensitive, you guys are intuitive, you guys are deeply connected. So I can only imagine that you guys probably been experiencing a lot of similar things these last few days. My dreams, first of all, what? I see Dom nodding. What? Okay, I am not a vivid dreamer at all. And today, yesterday, the day before, my dream journal is like filled up with so many just like out of the ordinary types of dreams that have really had me waking up and sitting here being like, what was that about? I mean, the other day, Dochi was in my dream giving me life advice. And I was like, okay, Dochi, come through. I don't even listen to your music. What are you doing here? Okay. So it's been very interesting, very out of the ordinary for me. I've also noticed a really big swing in my sleep cycle and like my level of fatigue. I've been incredibly fatigued for the last few days. Like just I mean y'all know I'm always working, so I'm tired, but like this is just like in my body, like really tired. Tuesday I took a 2.5 hour nap. I never nap just because I don't schedule them, and if I don't schedule it then it doesn't happen, so I never nap. And yet I just was like, I can't do anything but lay down, and I just napped. And I know that this is outside of me. I know that this has a lot to do with the transits that we're going through. I'm seeing yeses, sames in the comments. So I know that you guys are going through a lot of similarities. And I was actually going to do this reading like Sunday, and then I pushed it up to Friday. And then yesterday I was like, no, we got to go live today because I feel like this is a huge shifting point for our society, for the earth, but definitely for us, obviously my spiritual witches and my spiritual entrepreneurs. I want to make sure that we have an understanding of what these shifts mean and how to best utilize them, right? Because I always say when it comes to astrology, it's not about something written in stone. It's not about like, oh, this is gonna, has to happen. Rather, we pay attention to astrology to see where the energy is going so that we can go with it instead of fighting against it. And if we've been moving in the opposite direction of the energy, it's good to check in, because that might be the reason behind some of our blockages, some of our issues. And it may not be that we have to give up. It may not be that we're on the wrong path. It might just be that we are fighting the energy. And if we go with it, we're going to have a better outcome than if we don't. So we use astrology to empower ourselves, to guide ourselves. And it's been really wild for me on this journey recently, connecting with more entrepreneurs and professionals that do the same thing. I don't know, those of you who were in the bonus refuel session with Taylor Tiemann. She's a bunker member, but she's also a trademark and contract attorney from the West Coast. And she was talking about how she lines up her launches and the different services that her law firm offers based on the astrology of the time. So more and more people, even if they aren't quote unquote witches, are recognizing that when we lean into the flow of the energy around us, whether it's nature's energy on this earth or it's the energy of the entire cosmos, that things work out better for us. And I want to see which is winning. So I want us to do that. I used to do tea and tarot every single week when COVID started and I first launched my YouTube channel. That's how a lot of people found me. A lot of people found my channel. And as time went on and HQ opened up and all of that, I didn't do that as much. And I want to get back into doing tea and tarot regularly. And so I plan to be doing these on or around the full moon every month for my bunker witches. Okay. And I always like to share what I offer, not always, but I often like to share what I offer on YouTube after the fact, because I feel like our gifts are not for us, they're for the rest of the world. So I want to share those messages with them. But I also want to honor the sanctity of our space in the bunker and make sure that our bunker witches get individual attention that maybe folks on YouTube don't get. So, what I'm going to do tonight, and I think moving forward, is I'm going to be channeling some messages for the collective generally. And then for the bunker witches that are in the room, I'll end the stream and you all will get to ask some individual questions and we'll just go around. So if the message that comes through for the collective doesn't quite answer a question that you have, then I'll be able to take those from you personally, and each person will get, a few minutes, and we'll pull a message for each of you. And let me know if that sounds good. I was sitting here before we started, first of all, getting my tea. Okay, so if you don't have a cup of tea, don't be jelly. Okay, go get yourself a cup of tea. Okay, especially if you're in the bunker, because you're gonna have time before I start taking individual questions. I am drinking my tea, Skinny Spice, which you can find on Etsy, but I added some ashwagandha to it because I have been trying to do a better job of regulating my nervous system and like addressing that stress that I feel in my body and that anxiety that I feel in my body. Not everyone who watches this is in the US, but if you're in the US, okay, you are probably like this every 10 seconds. Literally every moment I pick up my phone, it is something else that is just like, right? So I feel like every cell in my body is just like on shock mode. So I added some ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen. If you don't know what adaptogens are, they basically are food for your nervous system. They help your nervous system to calm down. And this is something that I wasn't paying attention to until I read Regenerative Business by Samantha Garcia. So shout out to Samantha Garcia, Dirty Alchemy on Instagram, for writing what I think is the best business book I have ever read. So definitely look into grabbing a copy for those of you who are spiritual entrepreneurs and want to, learn more about this theme of building your business with the flow of nature's energy instead of against it. And her chapter about where she addresses the nervous system was really profound for me, because she was basically like, your nervous system might be out of whack, and if so, here are the symptoms that you should look for. And I was like, oh yeah, I have that and that and that and that, and I was wondering what the hell was going on. The book is called Regenerative Business by Samantha Garcia. And I talked about it on my Instagram and linked it there too. Yeah, I just was like, oh my gosh, this is super, super helpful. I'll try to remember to like link it in the, oh, you know what? You guys are bunker witches. Hello. It's in the bunker. In the feed under recommendations, I recommended the book and I put a link to it too. So if you're in the bunker, just go in the recommendations feed and you're going to see it there. And I recently posted it, so it's not far down. So you can get the link. Okay, King Jim? Because it's definitely worth it for sure. So yeah, taking care of my nervous system. Skinny Spice is my detox tea. So I'm trying to take care of my waistline because I'm trying to have a hot witch summer. Because this witch is getting divorced and I trying to be cute in these streets. Yes. Okay. Getting cute in these streets. So I'm drinking my Skinny Spice tea, but then I was like, okay, let me add some ashwagandha to it. And they go nice together. So it's good. Okay. Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back. That's okay. Sometimes we fall off. Definitely check out all the spaces in the feed for anything that you've missed, any new updates and things like that. Lots of good stuff going on. And I will remind all of you, if you're available tomorrow, is our weekly group coaching session called the Weekly Refuels. They happen at 12 noon every Friday. And basically, it's an opportunity for us to learn and level up as spiritual entrepreneurs. All this month, we are talking about taxes. Yay! We're talking about taxes because we have to. Tomorrow, specifically, we're going to be talking about, can I write that off? I'm going to be talking about how you can know whether or not something that you have spent money on for your spiritual business is something you can write off on your taxes, so that you have an idea of what things count and what things don't. The week after that, we are going to have our bunker member, Karen, who is a witchy bookkeeper and certified IRS representative, going to be leading the weekly refuel. And she is going to be talking about some of the most common mistakes she sees spiritual practitioners and new entrepreneurs make when it comes to like keeping track of our finances so that we're not making those mistakes. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about, is it time to hire a bookkeeper and an accountant? How do you know when it's time to do that? How do you know when it's time to make that kind of investment? And if you're doing it for yourself, like what does that look like to make sure you're doing it well enough until you get to the point where you can afford to hire folks to help you out? So lots of important stuff this month in the bunker. So definitely tune into the weekly refuels. And if you miss them, the refuel replay section is where you can binge all of our weekly group coaching sessions. But the weekly group coaching sessions are definitely one of the big benefits of being in the bunker. All right. So the cards. I was sitting here before we started, getting my tea ready and asking Spirit to guide me in terms of which cards to pull. And they gave me 4 decks, which doesn't usually happen. So I was like, of course, there's a lot going on. So I have 4 different decks in front of me. I think that's also because they know I'm planning to read for multiple people. So we've got decks that are going to be helpful for all of us. The tarot deck that I was drawn to was one of the most recent ones I've gotten, called the Circle of Doors Tarot. Okay, by Anne Stavely and Jill Sutherland. And it's just a very like aesthetic, moody deck, but it is very tuned into the divine feminine. All of the figures are feminine figures. And there's also some differences in terms of like the names of the suits and the things like that. And I feel like this energy that we're in right now with this full moon is a very feminine energy. I feel that the world is stepping into a more feminine place, even though it may not seem that way. I think what we're seeing right now is the fall of the masculine. I think we're seeing the veil being pulled off of our eyes about the masculine. I think we've leaned a little too heavily into the masculine in the last like 500 years or so. And that has helped us in a lot of ways. It's ushered in the industrial era. It's brought in new technology, but I think it's also contributed to a lot of war and conflict and destruction of the earth that now has to go back in the other direction if we want to survive as a civilization. So the feminine is really coming online very heavily. So this deck standing out kind of makes sense to me. So that's the tarot deck that I'm using. And then I have 3 basically like oracle decks that came up. The first is Prosperity Mantras. This is a fairly new deck from Kat Willett and Destiny Taylor, Modern Affirmations for Abundance. Because this full moon is so deeply tied to our prosperity and our abundance being in this earth sign, I wanted us to have some words that we can repeat to ourselves as we go through this next 28-day cycle, and as we usher in a new level of abundance for ourselves. I have the Divine Feminine Entrepreneur Oracle. by Liv Tarot, I think it is. And the creator is Vrunda Davi, who has a PhD and is an entrepreneur. And I really love this deck because it is very practical and very clear, right? So we don't have to ask ourselves, like, what does the Three of Cups mean about business? Like, this is a deck that really just tells you what in your business needs to be focused on. So since so many of us are entrepreneurs, I wanted to pull that one out. And then I have an oracle deck that I have not used yet. I have barely even shuffled this one. And this is one that I basically stole from myself. But when I was moving away from offering retail at Witchwork, formerly known as Bronxwitch headquarters, there were a couple of things that I was like, well, if no one's going to buy it, I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. Had my eye on it for a few months and no one bought it. And I was like, well, I guess I'll take it home. Okay. So we have The Beloved Dead. And this is an oracle deck for ancestral wisdom, which is like, can we ever have too much of that? I think not. But I also feel specifically like, at least on my journey, that a lot of the things that I am doing as a spiritual entrepreneur is ancestrally led. I recently reconnected or connected with my birth family for the first time in my life, which is a whole story. And learning more about them, doing things with my mom, to like start a trust for her property, and just doing all of these things to like build legacy. And the question keeps coming to me, like, what do I want to leave behind now that I'm thinking about how to protect what my grandfather and what my mom have built? Now I'm starting to ask the question of, what am I going to leave on this world? And being that we're going through such a big shift, I feel like the ancestors can really help us, especially because they have gone through a lot of the things that we are going through already in their own way, and they overcame. If they didn't, we wouldn't be here. So they have the blueprint for how we can not only survive but thrive through a lot of the things that are happening right now. So I feel like we need a word from them for sure. So all of these decks came through. So I'm going to pull cards from each of them from the collective. And then when we get into our individual readings, we'll say goodbye to YouTube, and we will let Spirit kind of pull the deck that each of you feels called to. I'll let you guys like choose. And if one of them is really speaking to you, then you can ask to pull from those. So I just want to take a moment of prayer, no pressure to join me at all. I just want to give honor and thanks to our guardians, guides, angels, ancestors, and all of the elevated spirits that are around us, asking them to come through and to reiterate the messages that they've already been trying to get to us, but that maybe we just could not hear or understand. We are open and ready to receive, and we're asking them to deliver the most high vibrational, most clear, most guiding messages for our greatest good today. I am pulling for the collective first, and so I'm asking for messages that will resonate deeply with all of us. I'm asking for the spirit of wisdom and discernment to be with everyone who watches this reading, knowing what message is for them and what message is for someone else. And I call on the individual guides of everyone that is in the bunker to speak clearly to them tonight. They are open and ready to receive these messages. As I will, so mote it be. Okay, let me move this before I burn myself. All right. So this full moon, I just had it up. Is happening late tonight. Okay, so the moon is, first of all, it's a full moon in the sign of Virgo. We have a lunar eclipse tonight, and the moon is going to start darkening at about 1:09 a.m. And it's going to be happening in like the western sky. So if you're in New York City on the East Coast, you might be able to see this. It's going to be peak between 2:26 and 3:31, which for my numerology people are like, okay, 2:26 and 3:31. I would love to see it. However, they decided to put up a building in front of my western facing window. So now I just have a giant white concrete wall to look at instead of the beautiful western sky over Yankee Stadium like I used to. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it, but that's okay, because I will be doing my usual full moon ritual, which is preparing a spiritual bath for myself. So I will be channeling that energy into my bath either way. And for those of you that can't see the eclipse, can't see the full moon, can't get outside or what have you, it's important to understand that this energy is vibrating through every particle that is around us. You don't need to be able to see it. You don't need to be able to get outside in order to channel this energy that it's giving us right now and use it. Okay. If you can, though, enjoy. It should be spectacular. It should be bright, like dark red and stuff like that in the sky. So, but the full moon is always a time for illumination. It's not exactly sunlight, it's reflecting sunlight, but it is the most illuminated it's ever going to be at night. So if you are going through a period in your life that feels like nighttime, it feels dark, it feels lonely, it feels cold, it feels scary. There are bumps and sounds that you don't recognize. There are things that you can't see clearly. Or maybe you don't feel alone. Maybe you feel like there are things with you and you can't see them. They're dark and shadowy figures. When the moon is full, that gives us the best opportunity to see some of what those things actually are. So it's like a break in the darkness. It's relief in the darkness. So there's a sense of relief that comes with the full moon. The interesting thing about there being an eclipse, though, is it's like a pause on the energy that is coming through. For me, the analogy I use is it's like pulling the plug out of a radio, like a digital radio, and then when the eclipse is over, plugging it back in. And when we plug it back in, the electricity flows again, but the clock restarts. So it's a very intense, like, moment. So we have this illumination that's happening that's shedding light on a lot of things, but we're also getting the opportunity to like power down and power back up. So these two things together, for me, I feel like are super, yes, a hard reset, Saddam. I feel like this is a really helpful time because not only does it shine light on the parts of our lives that were cloudy and unclear, but it's also giving us an opportunity to start fresh with those things. And so, as we see the things that weren't working, see the things that were maybe blocking us or holding us back, we're now getting a moment to like stop, rest in our tracks, and restart. So, a question that I often get from witches about working with the full moon on the eclipse and things like that is it a good time for spell work? And I generally say no. I generally say no because the radio is unplugged. This is a time to really sit and reflect on what was not working before so that when the energy starts to flow again tomorrow morning, you can start over. And that would be a time for spell work tomorrow. And after that, the next couple of days while the moon is still in Virgo, the moon's going to be in Virgo for like a 3-day period. So while the moon is still in Virgo, while it's still in this earth sign, while it's still in this organized and critical sign, that would be the time to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do differently this time. This is how I'm going to change my schedule. This is how I'm going to change my diet. This is how I'm going to change my money. This is what I'm going to do about my taxes, my business finances, etc. But tonight is the time to really sit in that quiet, still moment and look around and assess what you probably know is not serving you, but maybe haven't had the time to really like acknowledge that and be okay with letting that go. Okay. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with the tarot, and this is the message for the collective. I'm also going to pull from the Ancestor Oracle, the Beloved Dead. Okay. Hi, darling. Welcome. Just in time for the collective read. Okay. Well, first of all, the moon's imagery is coming through pretty strongly. From the tarot, we have the Crone of Keys, the visionary. We have the Magician, who, if you can see, has this full moon right over her eye. And then we have the Dark Mood, or the Three of Knives. So first of all, Spirit wants to talk about opening up pathways with this moon. This is an opportunity to see things differently. I encourage you all, if you hadn't already planned some type of a ritual for tonight or tomorrow morning, to do something for yourself to bring in this energy. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You'll see her sitting here, the crone on her bed with just a bowl of incense. Okay, but we have the snake symbolism here reminding us of this transformation that is coming through. So the energy that comes through tonight really has the potential to shift you into a completely different way of being. But it's important to understand that there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that. The snake, when it transforms, it doesn't do it all in one go. What happens is it gets like a crack in its skin that like irritates it, and it's growing out of its skin, it's being squeezed, and it starts to crack and peel, and then it basically has to like wiggle around and rub up against stuff to pull the skin off. Which is why when you find like a whole snake skin, it's always so like exciting, because it doesn't often happen that way. They often lose their skin in pieces. So it's not the most comfortable feeling. So try not to be too upset, bothered, or shaken if you feel really uncomfortable right now, and if you feel really uncomfortable tonight. Allow yourself to feel that discomfort, because that discomfort is going to reveal to you what it is in your life that really needs to be either let go or reevaluated. Okay, so there's something on your mind, there's something in your chest, there's something in your belly that's really making you nervous, that's really making you unsure, that's filling you with a lot of anxiety and discomfort. Don't run away from that. Instead, turn your evening into something of a ritual where you can lean into that and say, okay, why do I feel discomfort about this? How can I change that? What can I do differently? How can I let go of my old habits or old way of being or whatever it is? The keys are significant for me. They are a symbol of my guide that leads me through my dreams, who is a road opener. There are several different entities that connect with the key. So each of you might have your own reference for this. For some of you, it might be Hecate. For some of you, it might be Legba. But there is a door opening for you, and you're basically being asked to go through that newly opening door should you choose. The snake is lying in between these two different keys. So you can keep going into the door that you've been going into before, or you can put that down and decide to go through an entirely different door. But obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of discomfort around that, and you have to make the choice. You have to make the choice. The important thing to know is that you guys are a bunch of witches. Okay. So I always say witches do it better. And what I mean by that when I say that is that there are things that non witchy people would be really thrown off by or confused by that we understand. There are signs and symbols and messages that come through that we know not to ignore and that we listen to. So you're being asked to really tap into literally the magician inside of you, the witch inside of you, and not turn away from your rituals, not turn away from the messages, not ignore them. Don't be like a muggle, basically, right? Like, don't be talking about, oh, that's a coincidence, or oh, it's all in my head, or oh, I'm just, I'm feeling nervous. It's just gas. It's not gas. Okay. You are being, I mean, it could be gas a little bit, but like, okay, it is not just gas. All right. That knot in your stomach is asking you to ask the question of like, do I want to keep feeling like this? Do I want to keep going through this? Or am I ready for a new version of my life, even if that means being scared AF because I'm going to be doing something completely different? Okay. There is a message of loss here that is pretty significant with the Three of Knives. I keep hearing cord cutting. I was ignoring it, but I cannot any longer. So I know I literally just said don't do any spell work, but if there is any type of like crafting element to your rituals this evening, I would say cord cuttings would be the only ones that would really be in alignment with this energy. Anything else, road openers, success spells, money spells, love spells, anything related to attracting and calling things into your life, I would save that for after the eclipse. Okay. But if the things that are bringing you stress, that are bringing you confusion, that are holding you back from stepping into this new version of your life, um, feel like you can't get rid of them. So maybe they're a person in your life that you feel like you can't get rid of. Maybe they live with you or they're a family member, or legally married or something like that. They're an employer. You can't quit the job right now. Whatever thing is really bringing you that really deep stress and discomfort, tonight would be the night to ask spirit to help you to really definitively cut those out of your life because you are ready for it. And this does feel like it's a situation where magic is necessary. Magic is necessary. So it might be a really stubborn situation that is not going to go away on its own. So you're going to have to get into your cauldron or get into your bag, pull out that candle and say, okay, I've had enough and I want this gone. And I am going to sever all energetic ties to whatever this is. And whatever pain, whatever sadness, whatever anxiety comes from letting this go, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it because I know that on the other side of this is going to be a totally new version of my life, and I'm ready for that. I choose the other key. I choose the version that's on the other side of this shedding. I'm tired of being like in shedding mode. I'm ready to just be shed. And that means I'm going to be new and not have my thick skin, and I'm going to be vulnerable and it's going to be raw. But I'd rather that than what I'm dealing with right now. Okay, so some of you are going to be doing some cord cutting action tonight, and that could take the form of a cord cutting ritual with candles, but I am seeing these knives be really significant. So for some of you that might work with like ritual daggers or have significant scissors or knives or cutting utensils on your altar, I would use those. You ran out of candles? That's okay, girl. Go and get your machete. Okay. Go and get that knife, get that ritual dagger, because it's not feeling like a fire energy very much here. Cord cuttings are often done with candles, but it's not about the tool, it's about the ritual's intention. And I'm seeing here like cutting through an apple, cutting cutting like an object in half, or using the knife, even if you're just cutting through the air, to symbolically represent you cutting off that energy. For some of you, this might be cutting yourself. Okay. You were thinking of scissors. Yeah. You might be cutting yourself, and like, okay, word like warning, okay, YouTube, chill out. All right. Calm down. Okay. The witches in the room, I say cutting yourself, and they're like, "Mhm, yeah, we know." Okay. But for the YouTube folks that might be new to this or whatever, relax. Okay. It's not that serious. But there are some entities that require our life force to be exchanged. Okay. And so, yes, there are some entities, particularly ones like Hecate, that require or prefer there be a very definitive sign on your behalf that you are ready to work with them and that you would like their assistance. So this is not for all of you. Allie did not say go and cut yourselves. This is only for the witches that already have relationships with these entities, because those witches know exactly what I'm talking about. This does not surprise them. They have probably already done this before. This might be menstrual blood, but I feel that this might, in this case, because we are talking about severing ties, would be the pricking of a finger, the cutting of a finger, something of that nature. Again, please do not do that if you do not know what I am referring to or why this would be done. I, unfortunately, tonight do not have time to get into an entire thing about blood magic, and the spirits that require that type of action in order to have relationships with them. So this is purely, 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 strictly a message only for the witches that already know what I am talking about. Okay, that spirit that requires that of you is stepping forward to help you with this cord cutting, and is letting you know that that is what they would like as an offering or as a symbol that you are very serious and that you are ready. Because this spirits like Hecate in particular, when they come in and they do the work, and it's done. So this is not for something that you're not sure about. Okay. This is in my own life. When I was finally ready to walk away from my marriage, I called on Hecate to help me. And within 2 days, my soon to be ex husband came to me and said, I'm moving out. When 2 weeks prior, he was ready to kick me out and said that he was never going to move. So when she steps up to help you, and other spirits of this type of energy, they do it very rapidly and they're very serious. So when we call on them, it's a serious exchange. It's a serious conversation. So that might be a part of your rituals this evening. If you have these types of spirits in your court, they are stepping forward and saying, if you're ready, they're ready. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. As a kid, my only memories of like anything like that as a kid is wanting to do it, because I feel like I can't remember what it was, but I saw like a show or something where some kids like did like a blood pact or whatever, and they were like, you cut yourself and then we put it together and now we're bonded forever. And I wanted to do that, but I was born in the mid 80s, and unfortunately HIV and AIDS were a really big thing. And yes, we were very much told don't do stuff like that. So I never got to do that as a kid. Signing papers, yeah, oh, that's so witchy. I didn't start doing stuff like that until I was very grown. um, but yeah, that might be an indication, which you probably already know, that you have spirits like that ask for that as an offering, and that you can communicate with that way. They are stepping forward to help you to sever those relationships that you may be finally ready to let go of. Okay. So the message from our ancestors is wholesome. And what's coming through here is the importance of nourishment. So I feel like the collective is either dehydrated or not giving itself the nourishment that it really needs, literally and spiritually. And our ancestors are coming through to remind us of the importance of being well nourished at this time. So you might be feeling like you need to add like supplements to your diet, like taking more vitamins, taking more minerals. And that wouldn't be a bad idea. But do ask yourself if it's possible to get that nourishment from the earth itself. She's standing in this field of wheat. So do ask yourself if it's possible to get that nourishment for yourself through the foods that you eat and that you consume. Supplements, vitamins, minerals, they can help for sure if you aren't able to. Um, but if you are able to eat more grains, eat more greens, eat more fruits and vegetables, do try to do that. The grains in particular are really coming through because there is a sense of hunger. I don't know if any of you have been fasting or thinking about fasting, um, or if you've just been pushing yourself to the point where you're not eating regularly and you're not eating during like long stretches of the day and then you're hungry. I'm seeing some nodding. So that might be a theme right now in the collective. And your ancestors are saying, well, of course, grandma's always going to be trying to feed you, right? So your ancestors are saying, eat, 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 and eat heavier foods at this time. Eat heavier foods at this time. Eat more grains, eat more wheat, eat more bread, eat more pasta, more rice. But allow yourself to consume foods that make you feel full, because that feeling of hunger is contributing to your feeling of lack. Okay, like you don't have enough. All right. So allow yourself to feel full. Like it's March, it's early. We have plenty of time to snatch those wastes for the summer. Okay. So another few days of eating heavier things, starchier things is okay. We'll be all right. Now is not the time to be starving yourself or denying yourself anything that will make you feel full, make you feel abundant, make you feel grounded, and make you feel sleepy as well. Because there is so much happening in the dream state. There are so many messages that the ancestors are trying to bring through to us. And if we are not sleeping, then we are missing out on those messages. And we could be missing out on important messages coming through over the next 2 days, 2 nights or so. So definitely tonight is Thursday. I would say until Monday, like put off any plans to fast or any plans to like go on that juice diet. Let yourself eat those starches and heavier grains. Let yourself get sleepy at the end of your meals and take that nap, and be ready to record whatever comes through, because like literally she's like coming through the grains. And what's so interesting about this is that the color is light, but if you can see, it's stars in the background. So we are at night, but everything is bright and lit up. So it's like the full moon is there, but we just can't see it. So this full moon is going to be bringing you a lot of profound messages, that I don't want you to miss. So let yourself feel full. What was that lady, that viral video that goes around like every Thanksgiving where they're like, what are you going to do this Thanksgiving? And she's like, I'm just going to eat a bunch of breads and cakes and get fat and sassy. Yeah, that's the vibe, right? So breads and cakes and fat and sassy for the next 3 days. All right. And let that feeling of fullness and almost kind of like drowsiness, prepare you to receive the messages that come through. There's also a message about the starch itself, which is interesting, and the way in which starch is a binder. Okay. And the way starch sticks to you. If you are doing, oh yeah, full moon in Virgo, the greens. Yeah. Like, hello, the association, right? If you are making a bath for yourself, you might consider adding rice to the bath itself. So grab some rice out of the cabinet and add that into the bath itself and let that starchiness get into the bath, almost like making a white bath. You might make a white bath and include white rice in the bath and let the starchiness be in there, because starch is a binder. It allows things to stick together. And so sometimes when we take spiritual baths, the whole point is to like cleanse yourself, and so you don't want things to stick to you. But this isn't giving like cleansing bath energy. This is giving more of like a calling in and having like your abundance, your prosperity, your new life like really actually stick to you. So it's not this thing. It almost feels like a lot of us have been like chasing after our new lives, chasing after our prosperity and abundance, and like catching up a little bit and then falling back behind, and then catching up a little bit and falling back behind. And like every time it feels like, oh wow, stuff is coming in, like, oh wow, things are happening, then we hit like a drought again, and the bills pile up, or you get, some overdue charge that you weren't expecting, or you forgot about some membership and then it like relapsed and you're like, I don't even remember signing up for that. So like it feels like every time you make some progress and the new rituals that you're putting in place start to pay off, there's like a setback. And I feel like this starch is coming through to allow things to like finally stick. Okay. Anything else for the collective? No, I think that is all for the collective. Okay. Ooh, oat straw tea. Yeah, that would be a great one. Milky oats for sure. If you have some milky oats, if you have some oat straw, um, definitely indulge in that. One of my teas, Baby Mama Drip, has milky oats in it. Um, It's supposed to be for like lactating moms, but anyone can drink it. You're not going to start lactating, I promise. But it will help with that if you're struggling with that. But milky oats are really great for that, for literally nourishment for you and the next generation. Oat straw would be a good one as well. Other nourishing herbs that are not necessarily grains, alfalfa, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Okay. Especially when you're doing money magic, prosperity magic. Um, Alfalfa's like folk name is something like never hunger or never starve or something like that, because it is so nourishing. You could literally like feed yourself with it for like weeks and not eat. And nettle, also a really nourishing herb as well. But yeah, eat all the breads, eat all the cakes, get fat and sassy just till Monday, okay? And let yourself rest, and move maybe a little slower than usual so that you can let go fully before calling in the new thing that you call in, um, and let that starchiness, let it stick. Okay. I'm going to say thank you for this message. And I am going to let the collective go so that I can take some individual messages from the Bunker Witches for those of you that would like that. For everybody that is watching on YouTube, this has been Tea and Tarot Live. I'm going live every month in the bunker for these collective and individual messages. I will share the collective parts of these readings on YouTube. But if you would like the opportunity to get an individual reading from me, then becoming a member of the bunker is the best way to do that. We also have weekly group coaching sessions for my spiritual entrepreneurs. So if you are entrepreneurial, you are a tarot reader, Reiki healer, candle maker, etc., and you need some more business knowledge to help your business actually become successful, then you want to take advantage of that. We share recommendations, we talk to each other, we share our information in there so we can exchange services and all of that good stuff. So it's a good space to be in if you are a boss witch like the rest of us. So joining the bunker is free. It's free for the first 7 days, and the link should be down in the description of this video. All right, YouTube, thank you so much for being with us. Have a beautiful rest of this lunar eclipse, full supermoon in Virgo, and I will see you all in the next one. Blessed be.